Hello, 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 YouTube. Welcome to the Chris Varian YouTube channel. Just quit calling it YouTube channel because I might post on Rumble too. You know, get a couple of different videos going on different platforms. But for right now, I'm just doing YouTube just to keep things simple. I just want to get myself going in a good direction and get in the habit of doing these videos every day. That way I can keep them shorter, right? And still get my points across and still get to communicate with all of you guys out there, guys and gals. So I'm just going to keep it simple. Again, that's why I'm trying not to edit. That's why I'm trying not to do anything, is just to get out there, get going, get motivated. Just like we have to do with all kinds of stuff in our life, right? You want to start your own business. You want to start getting sober. You want to start getting rid of the drugs or cigarettes, or get yourself to the gym or whatever. Just keep it simple. Try to go on a regular basis. You know, pick your basis. You want to go 3 days a week to the gym, then you pick your days and you stick with it. And even if you only go for 15, 20 minutes, you just go, right? And that, as a personal trainer, that's what you have to do. And that's what I do, right? Even if I don't feel like going, because lots of times you don't. I don't, right? And just being honest, I don't. So I just go anyway. And sometimes I have a really good workout, and it's like, I'm like, oh, why didn't I want to go? It felt so good. I did so good. And other times it's like, yeah, I've done my 20 minutes. I've done my core exercises, and I'm out of here, right? Like, as long as I hit my core exercises that I have, the rest is just extra, just gravy to me. So, and I set up my workouts like that too. And when I work with clients, I do that too. So that if you do go there and you only have, say, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to be at the gym that day, then you can hit your core exercises and then you can move on, right? If you have more time, then you just put more time in. If you feel really good, you continue along, right? On this video too, I'm going to try to make less swishing noises and background noise. I didn't quite understand how touchy this camera is, or this microphone is, how sensitive it is. I didn't know. I'm also hoping that you can't hear the music playing. My neighbors are outside enjoying the sunshine and listening to some country music, and I'm hoping it doesn't come through on here. But not much I can do about it, right? It's their life. I'm not going to tell them, hey, stop it. And I want to do my video now, so this is when I'm going to do my video. Last video we got to year 9, and year 9 was quite something. It was 2 years. No, year 9 was 2 years before COVID, so that was 2018. Well, 2019 COVID started, and then 2020, right? So 2018, that's because I sobered up in 2009. So 2019 was my 10-year anniversary. I got a little chip that has my 10-year on there, and that was awesome. I carry it around with me. I actually have another one now that I got for myself, which is 17 years. So I kind of put the 10-year away and just carry the 17-year. But that was 2018. That was a very, very pivotal moment in my life in sobriety. Like, there was getting sober, there was staying sober for the first 2 years, which was, like I said before, that's the hard time. Then there was getting my business going, my own construction business, instead of working for others. That took some time, and then the next major milestone was 2018, right? Like, every year is important, but that was just like one of those important years for me. It was important for me because that's when I stepped out of just going to the Roblin meetings. I'd go up to Swan River once in a while, but not very often. It was mostly just Roblin. And I'd go to Yorkton once in a while, which is in Saskatchewan. It's about an hour away also. but it was very rare. And I didn't really feel connected there, right? The Swan River meetings were fine. They were good. I just didn't get a connection when I went there. When I went to Dauphin, I felt a connection to that group. I don't know what it was about it. I just did. And I hadn't had a sponsor, a real AA sponsor that would work with me on the steps and keep me in line and listen to I just didn't have any. The two old guys that passed away in the Roblin group were my last two sponsors, right? And so when they passed away, that left me 5-year gap where I didn't have a sponsor. And some people say having a sponsor isn't that important, but really it is important, because they've been through a lot more than you. They're usually sober for a lot longer than you are. So having that sponsor was important. And my sponsors in Roblin didn't really push the steps, right? They didn't. So I had done my steps when I left rehab, and I'd done them once sort of afterwards with one of my sponsors in Roblin, but it was very, very rushed, it seemed. It was very, very limited. So when I started going to Dauphin, I met a fellow named Gordon, and he was Mr. AA, as far as I can put it. And he had gone to the University of Manitoba, I believe, or maybe Winnipeg. And there was a guy there that was teaching step classes. So every class you went, you did a step, and there's 12 steps if people don't know. And they would go in depth into these steps about what the book said and about what they could interpret from it and what they had seen in their own lives, and really went in depth into the steps. So he was really knowledgeable about that stuff. And he was also very knowledgeable about service. And service is helping AA as a whole. So helping AA as a whole is important, because when we're active addicts, we're extremely selfish, right? I was extremely selfish. All I cared about was my next drink, right? My next fix. So when I came into AA, AA is unlike most organizations that you come across, is they don't get any government grants. They don't get any money at all. It's all former alcoholics, and NA is the same way. It's all former or recovering addicts and recovering alcoholics that donate money to keep the organization alive, right? It's not a government organization. It has no affiliation with the government. It doesn't ask for any money from any outside sources. It's not allowed to. It says that right in its rules for organizations. So they ask you to donate, The first few meetings, they might not say anything. And then after that, they ask, could you give $2? What they really ask for, and this is what we go by in my meeting and all meetings, is what is a beer in the bar? $5, $6? Well, then that's what you contribute, because really you would go into the bar and spend hundreds of dollars without a second thought, right? But now I'm sober, I can't spend money, I can't give. So that's what we do, is we donate money. So that's the first step in getting past that selfishness, and then the next step is helping others. So you get sponsees, or you speak at meetings, and you inform people of what your life was like before, while you're an active addict, what your life was like when you first walked in those doors and decided to quit, and have quit for a while, and then now what your life is like now after so many years, right? And so you keep sharing that in the hopes of inspiring others, new people that are coming through the door. So that's your second step, right? And you also, when you become part of a group, you're maybe asked to become the treasurer or to make coffee or to open the meeting up, half an hour before the meeting starts, or there's all kinds of things. They have little committees that they do. They go to hospitals. They go to treatment centers. They go to jails and corrections facilities. They go and talk to psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, letting them know where the meetings are, when they are, kind of what AA is about. Because really, if you've never had a problem, like, why would you go to AA? Right? Like, and then you see all kinds of stuff on TV and all kinds of hearing on the news and radio and whatever. So that gets you through that next step, right? Is you're contributing to the group, right? So first thing is you start giving money to the group to help fund it, paying for coffee and cups and your rent. Lots of places have rent. And then you start, and then you tell your story, right? And so that's a way to give back. And then you get into helping make coffee and keeping the group functioning, right? Not just with money, but with your time, right? And you're helping in the community if you're going to treatment centers in the community, or you're going to talk to doctors or lawyers or whatever and letting them know what's going on. That's also giving, right? And then once you've done that, so I'd gotten to that step, right? I'd opened the meetings in Roblin. I'd made the coffee. I'd contributed money. I've told my story. I've helped other struggling alcoholics, addicts. So the next step is service, and the higher service. So which is, there's an area, which is in Canada. It's like each province has an area. I think Toronto has a few areas, or Ontario has a few areas. Maybe Quebec does because they're a larger population, and British Columbia does. But Manitoba is one area. Saskatchewan is one area. Alberta is one area. So what that means is, so that when you have a World Service, they're in New York, they pass information on to the area, which is Manitoba, for our purposes in this conversation. From the area of Manitoba, you need someone to take that information to all the groups, right? And so that's called the district chair person, right? So they go to the meetings in Winnipeg or wherever they hold them around Manitoba 4 times a year. They get information. They bring that back to the district. Our district, where I am right now, is called District 6, and it entails Roblin and Grandview, Dauphin, St. Rose. There's Pine Creek, Camperville, Swan River, and a big circle around. There's other little communities that have meetings that some of them don't anymore, like they're on and off. So that's why you got to keep in communication with the area, because they have the website. And my job as a DCM is to go to all the groups, make sure they're good. If we can help them some way, we do. Make sure that the area knows their dates and times of meetings so that they can put it on the website. I bring the information from the area to the groups so that they know, like there's roundups, which is a bunch of AA people get together and have dinner and dancing and tell stories and, do fun games nights. That's a roundup. There's, I'm going to be going to one in Nassau, which is just north of Gimli, Manitoba, on Lake Winnipeg in July. And that's a fish fry. So we're going to spend time on the beach. We're going to have a bonfire. There's going to be fish fry. We're going to camp a night or 2 nights there. We're going to hang out. Some of the people from my group here are going to go. And it's a free thing. That's always great. A contribution is made. So you give them $20 or $50 or whatever you can afford. And that helps them run that little party that we're going to have. So there's things like that. There's things that come from a World Service, which is like, There's new groups in Africa, and there's new groups in Belgium, and there's new groups down in South America, and they tell you how everything's going and all that kind of stuff. So you bring that information back to your groups, right? And the more connected your little group is to the big groups, it seems to bring more energy to your group, which then attracts more people, which makes your little group a little bigger, right? And it keeps growing. When you're not in contact with the big group, with the main, like the area, your little group isn't in contact with the area, then your group stays small and stale, and it's just a couple people sitting around, telling stories over and over and over, the same stories, right? It gets boring. At least this way, if you're in community, in contact, and other people come to your meeting, you go to other people's meeting, and it makes it more varied, and just it makes you more attractive to newbies that are coming in, right? They want to stay. I've seen lots of times a new person comes in, they take one meeting, they really need to be there. But again, it's three old men talking the same stories, and so maybe that person comes to 5 or 6 and it's the same story over and over and over again, and they just don't come back. And usually they go back to their problem, right? So in year 9, I started going to Dauphin, and I met Gordon, like I said, and he ran a step class. So we went through all the steps in depth, and we did all of our steps, step 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, and 1 through 12, right? We really went in depth into it. And so that really inspired me again, right? To move on to the next step of my life, right? And so then I became the GSR for our group in Roblin, which they didn't really want me to be a GSR, because your group is actually supposed to help you go to these meetings in around the district, and or to the meetings around the province, so that you're connected, and your group is supposed to help you. But they didn't want to help me, so I ended up paying for it myself, which is perfectly fine with me. I needed to get out. I needed to do other things. I needed to get out of that one little group and become part of the big group, right? So that was important to me. And to do my steps again in depth with somebody that really knew what they were doing, and then going to see a pastor that I'll never see again. So I let all this stuff out. He gave me some of his advice, which was very good. And I don't go to his church. I don't see him every Sunday. I don't have to even think about what I told him, because it's gone, right? And all the stuff I wrote down in my step 4 that I just discussed with the pastor in step 5, I burnt it at the end. I got rid of it. It's gone. Done. Right? All that resentment, all that shit, gone. So that was going into that COVID lockdown, right? So I had done all that work. I had gotten that far. I was the GCR, and then I became DCM just as COVID was coming in, right? And it was really good that I did all that, because just before COVID came in 2019, my business suffered. There was just too many carpenters in the Roblin area for the work that was there. And so I wasn't getting enough work. So I was going to Winnipeg to work. And it was really stressful on me, because I didn't know where my next check was coming in. I didn't have any jobs planned ahead. I was literally working a week ahead of time, right? Like, it was hand to mouth. And it was very stressful. And I had gotten into a relationship, first one in a long time, right? And that was adding stress. And I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that. My job was going very easy for me, right? I didn't have anyone to worry about or think about but me. So in that way, I was very selfish. Now I have a significant other to worry about. I'm worried if she's going to be okay, what's going to happen. We were talking about moving in together, so that's another stressor. So stepping out of my little group, getting into the big group, going through the steps, getting into the service, becoming the GSR and then the DCM, gave me more confidence and more stability in myself, inside myself, to be able to handle the stress of not having consistent work, right? Getting into a new relationship, eventually moving in together during COVID because it just seemed like the right thing to do. And then COVID really, again, played another tricky thing in my life. My work was gone, right? I shut my doors on my business. I had spent money helping AA. I had spent money on my health, way more than I probably should have, but I really needed to, right? Because again, I'm number one. I'm the most important thing because my health is important. Sobriety is important. My health is next. Everything else below. So I spent this money. So when COVID happened, I had no savings. And my credit cards were pretty high up. They weren't maxed, but they were pretty much close to maxed, right? So when I had no work coming in, I couldn't make those payments, right? I had enough to make the mortgage payment, and we kept the electricity going, and we fed ourselves, and that was it, right? And I actually had to take those COVID payments, the help that the government offered, to make it through that time until people started phoning again. And then when people started phoning again, I couldn't take the jobs because I didn't have any money to take the jobs, because as a contractor, you put up all the money first, right? You max out your credit to get all the material and everything and all the gas to get back and forth and everything, and then you get paid at the end. Most jobs. That's what we do. So I was FUBAR, right? And so but during that time I had material left over, whatever. I built this sauna. So yes, my life was falling apart on one end, the business, right? But on the other side, I had learned so much about myself through taking those step classes. I had learned so much about myself getting into service and doing that aspect and going to all these different meetings and meeting all these different people, that I was sitting in the sauna and I was sorting out my emotional life, right? I think in one of my past videos, I said I was so stressed and so twisted up inside with anxiety and pain, back pain and whatever, but anxiety and everything about life, that only one of my sit bones sat on the chair. The other one was up off the ground. He never made a mark. Right? So I was just twisted inside, just twisted right up. And that was my right side. And that was the side I was having all these problems with. My eye drooping, my limp, like all that stuff. So the time in the sauna, the time of COVID, the time that destroyed a huge part of my life, all that work, all that part, actually gave me the time I needed to let go of a lot of things that were built up inside me that I hadn't gotten out in my step 4s and 5s because, pardon me, because I didn't even know they existed, right? I wasn't even sure of how to process that stuff. I was so running all the time to work and to AA and just running that I've never had the time to just sit there and ponder my life and ask the questions like, is this business the right thing for me? Right? I'm working a lot of hours, probably 70, 80 hours a week I was working. More than that. I'm sure some weeks I'd work 100 hours. No joke. Right? Between all the bookwork and the work and just running and estimating, and it was just like I barely sleep, So is this business what I really want to do? Right? In this way, like, is this working for me? Right? During that time, I had issues with my biological father. So now is this relationship between us, because we've had a strained relationship my whole life. We barely talked. Well, I never really saw him when I was a kid. I saw him when I turned 13 or 14. I saw him for a few years, then we didn't talk again until I was in my 20s, you know? So him telling me that I didn't make enough money, that my business wasn't good enough, that all this stuff wasn't good enough, that affected me. Then him telling me that, or wanting me to come visit him, but then I drive out and he's not there. You know, like all these things, like, is this working for me? You know, brothers and sisters that don't talk to me, like I reach out to them constantly, but they never phone me, right? Do I keep reaching out to these people? Like, is this important to me? Cousins in Winnipeg, Selkirk area that never communicate with me, but I try to communicate with them. Why do I keep trying to communicate with these people? I have to ask those questions. Is this time that I'm spending trying to communicate with these people important? Right? Should I be doing that? Or should I be using that energy and time to fix the stuff in me and make my life better? Right? Like, I've never asked those questions because I was so busy. You know, I'd quit drinking, and I was so broke when I quit doing that all I could do is work to try to get myself in a good position, right? And none of those people really helped me with that, right? None of my family went out of their way to hire me to work for them. Actually, my dad and my stepmom refused to hire me because I charged too much. Right? I charged too much, so they would hire other people. You know? Same thing with my cousins in Winnipeg. The only way they would hire me is if I worked for half price. You know? Are they helping me or are they taking advantage of me? Those are the questions I had to ask. I had to be honest with myself and ask those questions. And that was the time I had in the sauna. You know? And we're at my 10-year 2019 10-year anniversary for quitting drinking, and here I am hit with all those questions that I've never asked before that, right? And that's what I mean by this process of quitting. Is one thing, you quit drinking, but once you start analyzing your life, once you start trying to change it and do things differently and live differently, well, now that takes a while, right? Took me a long time to get to that point where I started to ask those questions, you know? And I came to the conclusion it wasn't worth my time. If my dad and my stepmom and my brother and sister in Saskatchewan cannot pick up the phone a few times a year and say, hey, Chris, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Hope you're doing good and blah, blah, and have a chat with me, you know? Then it's not important for me to go there to visit them or to phone them, right? Plain and simple. You know, if the same thing with my cousins and my family in Winnipeg, around Winnipeg, Selkirk area. They never phone me. Never. Never. And have never helped me with anything ever in my entire life. So why is it so important for me to go visit them? Why is it so important for me to phone them and talk to them and wish them happy birthday when they don't do it for me? Now, maybe on Facebook, you know, if your birthday pops up on Facebook, you might get a bunch of emails. But if it is, I mean, I have like 20 cousins out there. Two of them might message me happy birthday. You know, that would be it. The rest, they don't give a crap about me. But so why do I feel so ingrained in helping them or going to talk to them, or, you know, when I'm in Winnipeg to visit them, spend that time doing that? Why do I do that? When I could spend that time fixing my life, making my life better, spending time with people that want to spend time with me, you know? But again, I never took that time and looked at it. So the 10-year That 9 and 10 years, those are very crucial in my life to make some major changes in my life. And I've made some massive changes in my life at that point, right? And we'll get into some more because this is already at 30 minutes. So again, I want to keep them fairly short. So COVID was a blessing and a curse, right? And I laugh and I cry. Right? This is what we do. It took away my business, pretty much bankrupted me, except for my house and my girlfriend and my dog. Like that's pretty much all I kept. All the truck and the car and the motorcycle that I had and it's gone, right? All gone. Credit cards, my credit rating, all that stuff's gone. Flew away. But on the other hand, it gave me that time to really analyze my life in that sauna, right? And really get rid of a lot of pain that was built up, a lot of anxiety and pain that I didn't even know existed because I've never had the time to actually think about it. Even when I was doing my step fours previously, I was rushing because of work and because of family that wanted me to come visit them, and work. And my mom just work. Like, it's just work and people that had expectations of me, right? Other people's expectations. And that's what I had to do. I had to get rid of that, right? I had to say no more. And so, yeah, that's where I started again. I started my life again, and that's quite a while ago now. And quitting drinking was the best thing I ever did. Drinking and then cigarettes and then the drugs. Getting rid of those addictions were like amazing, life-changingly amazing. And then the next one is this 10-year sobriety anniversary where I had to sit down and really ponder my life, right? And what I want from it and how I want to spend it, It was important for me because at 43, 44 years old, I'm sitting there going, what do I do next? Like, I can't keep living this way because it's killing me. I'm feeling better, but I'm not healing the way I should be. And so that year 10, spending that time in that sauna, man, I spent a lot of time in that sauna. It took me a lot of hours to come to those conclusions, right? It wasn't easy. And I fought with it. I really fought with it. But it was super important to do. Like, it was super important for me to really sit down and figure out what was my next steps, mid-50s. That's about the time, or mid-40s, I mean. That's a good time to think about it, right? Like, because you're only getting older. And time speeds up as you get older. It just does. I don't know why, it just does. So that was year 10. Like, I spent this whole time talking about service, and then my year 10. Like, we didn't even get past that. That's hilarious, because a lot happened, right? I learned so much in that couple of years. Like, so much. And it's because I stepped out. I stepped out of my regular routine and started doing something different that allowed me to learn so much about myself, that then in turn allowed me to make massive changes in my life that made my life so much better. So much better. And with that, we'll stop. We'll come back to it tomorrow, right? I'll get to year 11. We'll move on, right? But Thanks for coming out. Anyone watching, this is amazing. I'm so happy I'm doing this now. Finally, I put this off for a long time, and I'm super happy that I'm here to talk to you guys and creating some kind of a community, I'm hoping. Everyone that's watched my first couple of videos, thank you so much. Those of you that have commented, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I don't have much to subscribe to yet, but it would help me out if you did. Liking, subscribing, commenting. Just let me know. Thank you very much, and have a great, 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 great day, because I know I will.